there, folks. It's me, Crispi. Now, I love original recipe, but in this sizzling summer heat, I'm feeling a little extra crispy. Crispy isn't just a product, it's a lifestyle.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we'll be talking about what many historians refer to as the Crispi era. Yes, I'm not making this up. So, Francesco Crispi was the Prime Minister twice, once between 1887 and 1892 and once again between 1896 and 1898. Unlike his predecessors, Crispi was impatient, stubborn and downright radical at times. His methods and ideas would inspire many people, from the bravest soldiers and workers looking to show the Italian tendency to the world stage, to the most disturbed individuals who will use their ideas to cause war and suffering in a couple of decades. So grab your popcorn, chips, pretzels, and any other crunchy snack you can think of, because this can get only more interesting as we go on. As we mentioned in the last video, Crispi was one of the most authoritarian Italian prime ministers of the century, and his attitude really shows in his foreign policies. Though, internally speaking, he was not too bad. He was actually very progressive and pushed Italy through some bad and good times. One of his most known achievements were the Zanardelli reforms, which basically reformed the judiciary system, banning the death penalty and giving ministers the power to pardon criminals are only some of the examples introduced by the Zanardelli reforms. He also gave the workers the right to strike and to complain in regards to their work environment and conditions. Of course, the limits were still there, with vague limitations and all, but it was still a nice start. When it came to foreign relations, he wasn't very welcoming. One of the first things he did was to start a border war by putting up tariffs against French products in order to slow down trade between the two countries. This was done in order to get closer ties with Austria and Germany, especially the latter, and it seemed to work. Then he pretended to sign a peace treaty with Ethiopia in 1889. But the two versions of the treaty, one in Italian and the other in Ethiopian, said different things. The Ethiopian one was a friendship pact, however the Italian one was a vassalage pact, which meant that Ethiopia would basically become an Italian puppet if they signed it, which they did. However, the viciousness of the exchange didn't stay hidden for long, and the tensions between the two countries soon escalated. In 1891, Crispi proposed to the parliament to go to war again, but seeing the debt increasing again, and remembering quite well the tragedy of Dogali, the parliament rejected the proposal, and so Crispi resigned, ending his first term with many of his plans still on the drawing board. Not so fast though, because he will be back for more, but while he was away he was able to still have a decent footprint on the government due to his good ties with the new Prime Minister Giolitti. Giovanni Giolitti is seen as a controversial figure in Italian history, at least in his first term, but at the time he was seen as a lighter version of Crispi. Today we know that he was a pushover at his best and a crook at his worst. His first problem he had to face when he got to office was the Sicilian revolts in 1893, but then something even worse happened. At the time, the Italian central bank, the Roman Bank, got itself into a scandal that could have put the whole Italian economy in jeopardy. It turned out that the bank director, Bernardo Tanlogo, had been printing copies of money on the side, and many of these counterfeit bills were already in circulation around the country. This was discovered by Minister of Agriculture, Industry and Commerce Luigi Micelli and Senator Giacomo Alvisi. who became suspicious over the source of some of Tanlongo's income, as well as other reports that just did not add up, with some funds seemingly coming out of nowhere when there were some gaps, small or big, mostly big though. It also turned out that he had been involved into many criminal activities. This soon became a national scandal. Regardless, Giolitti was about to make Tanlogo senator, and Elvisi died in mysterious circumstances. When people started to get suspicious, Giolitti fled to Germany. The high judges, however, decided not to release the news of the scandal, categorizing it as a state secret. Tanlogo was given the title of senator, and Giolitti came back after a while. The banking system was completely reformed, however, and it was replaced by the Bank of Italy. At least they got that right. Today, people are unsure over Giolitti's role in the scandal, though I have a feeling he was not fully complicit. It seems he might have at least known about this prior to his elections. Anyway, nothing much happened this decade until Crispi came back in 1896. This time more sick and tired of Ethiopian bullshit than ever. In terms of internal policy, Crispi didn't do much in his second term, but he is most remembered for his attempted expansion in Ethiopia. When Crispi was re-elected prime minister, he went back straight to being the aggressive guy. He took down the revolt in Sicily that had been raging for 3 years now, and then proceeded to expand in Ethiopia once again. This led to the Battle of Adwa, which was the most embarrassing and harshest defeat by an underdeveloped nation to a colonial power. 7,000 Italians were massacred, and this stopped the Italian expansion for good. And by good, I mean for 20 years. Meanwhile, in Italy, a new economic crisis in 1898 led to the price of bread to skyrocket, and many protests began across major cities. On May 1898, General Baccaris was sent to the city center to keep peaceful protesters under control. He instead started shooting at civilians, leading to hundreds of deaths. King Umberto I, instead of punishing him for defying orders, he gave him a medal as if he was a war hero. 2 years later, an anarchist called by Gaetano Bresci shot and killed the king in Monza, Lombardy, at the end of a sporting event while he was getting into his carriage. The country mourned for the king, and his son Victor Emmanuel II of Italy, or Victor Emmanuel III of Savoy if you prefer, took the throne. In 1901, Giolitti came back to power, this time as a new man. He now intended to carry on the left wing's interest for good and leave scandals behind himself. This was how Italy ended the 19th century, broken, poor and seemingly hopeless. But the 20th century reserved a great future for this new country. The economy had been growing steadily, and by the early 1900s, the first factories started to make a name of themselves, such as Fiat, as well as other technological advances. We will talk about these great economic and life improvements next time when we talk about the Giolitti era. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you then.